Okay, hey, my name is Bode, and I'm just another guy who talks about movies on the internet. And this is a quick reaction that I'm going to do for Inside Out 2 because it's been on my mind since the last few days that I saw it. And I want to try and make these quick reactions more of a thing on here. Um, so, you know, this is me talking about another movie that I saw, shouting into the social media void, um, as you will. And I'm just going to preface by saying that there are going to be a few comparisons that I make to the original film. It's funny because I had not seen the original Inside Out in quite a bit, actually. And I didn't rewatch it leading up to this. And yet, a lot of the details and the specifics, or at least some that, were, important to remember, were still on my mind as I watched this sequel. And I love the original, by the way. I think it's one of Pixar's best films, certainly of that particular decade, which was not the most consistent quality wise for them. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna say it. I think the sequel kind of pales in comparison to the original. Now, don't get me wrong; it's enjoyable as is. It's charming. There's some solid gags, some that involve kind of a mix of animation styles. Um, but I don't think it's as emotionally potent or as narratively innovative as that first film is. And to that point about it being sort of narratively innovative, it sticks fairly closely to the first film's formula, almost to a fault. Um, I kept expecting that it would do something that kind of breaks away from it, or at least does something kind of something more interesting within that formula, and then it doesn't really do that very much, which I think saps some of the excitement um, out of the experience watching this. Um, and some of the narrative decisions that they make with that formula kind of frustrated me a little bit, such as making Sadness the villain. I mean, they never really fully make that character, who, by the way, is voiced by Maya Hawke, and she does a pretty good job. But it just felt kind of unnecessary, I should say, as a narrative decision, especially because I think the first film succeeded with the lack of a villain. And it's one they could have easily. It's a narrative decision they could have easily done when it came to Sadness, and just when it came to with that dynamic between sadness and joy, but they never really did. There was a lot of nuance there, um, and I feel like that's kind of missing in this film. And I understand it's part of they're trying to explore in their own way how anxiety can take over your entire body, but I feel like there was a better way to kind of go about that a little bit, a less simple way, you know if you will. Another issue that I kind of had with the film is with the character of Riley, who in this particular installment feels more like a plot device than a fully fleshed out character in her own right. I mean, they talk a lot in the movie about her sense of self, and yet I never really felt a sense of self there. She really feels like a device for the emotions, who are the central characters at play. And I know that was a criticism that was lobbied against the first film. I didn't really agree with it there. Here, it was a little hard to ignore. It didn't help, too, that this movie kind of employs the trope of the white characters' POC friends. In this film, Riley's, friends are black and Asian, respectively. Um, this kind of employs the trope of the POC friends just being there to help further progress, you know, Riley's personal growth. It's a trope that you tend to see in a few films like this, and yeah, it was a little hard to ignore during this film in particular. Again, I think the movie's fine. It's like mid-tier Pixar at most. It's not one of the best things they've done. It's not one of the worst things they've done. It's like, it's fine. It's enjoyable for what it is. But I feel like the potential for something greater, or as great as the original film was there, and I feel like it just doesn't really reach that level, and it could have. So there's a there's a tinge of disappointment there, but hey, it is what it is. I'm sure people will enjoy it well enough. I'm sure a lot of people have already. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Inside Out 2. Longer than I even expected it to be. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far into the video, share it amongst people, whatever. Okay, bye-bye.